Let's return now to the news that the chief Palestinian negotiator Saeb Erekat has died at the age of 65. He had suffered serious health problems for several years before contracting coronavirus. He announced that he had contracted the virus last month and was being treated in hospital in Jerusalem. Joining me now from Ramallah is Dr. Mustafa Barghouti, a Palestinian politician and a friend of Saeb Erekat. Thank you very much for joining us today as we take stock of this news. Saeb Erekat had, I think, tweeted just a few weeks ago. He'd obviously revealed that he had this virus, and he had tweeted that, God willing, things were on the mend, were the words that he used. Things are under control. But, given his health conditions, clearly this was a very tough battle that he was fighting with the virus.
Yes, it's a big loss. We feel the loss. His family, of course, before anybody else, feels a great loss. And we, as his friends and colleagues in struggle, we all feel this big loss. Dr. Saeb was a fighter for Palestinian rights. He was a well-known and astonished diplomat. And he ran lots of negotiations on behalf of Palestinians, and he was the Secretary General of the PLO. So, of course, it's a big loss for everybody. But I must say that he did not stop working even when he knew that he was risking his life, given the spread of the coronavirus. And unfortunately, he is now an additional and another victim of this horrible virus. Let's hope that there will be a possibility of controlling this pandemic so that we will not have more losses. But Dr. Erekat will be remembered for his struggle. He has participated in Palestinian struggle since he was a student, and then for many years as a teacher in universities, and also as a diplomat and as an activist in the PLO. And we really feel that this is a big loss. That will be difficult to replace, but our struggle has to continue, and our deep condolences are to his family, to his colleagues, to all the Palestinian groups in the PLO, and especially to Fatah, his party.
He had sought for many years a two-state solution, hadn't he? And as recently as the summer, he was criticizing various countries for their decisions to formalize ties with Israel. He criticized, for example, the UAE for formalizing ties with Israel. He said that this was a killer blow to his ambitions for this two-state solution. What, especially taking into account the issues that there have been with President Trump and his approach to dealing with the Middle East, now we have a new president in America. Do you think that Saeb Erekat would have thought that this held out the promise for some movement?
Well, everybody thinks so, because I think the disappearance of President Trump is a big relief not only to the Palestinian people, but to the peoples of the whole world. Because unfortunately, we have witnessed during his period very serious, reckless policies that has affected things from global environment to World Health Organization to the rule of law and international law. But the biggest grave damage was made to the Palestinian issue, because he adopted completely Netanyahu's plan of the deal of the century, which is nothing but liquidating the Palestinian rights. I hope that the new administration will follow a different path, but what we definitely want to see is a very serious pressure on Israel to immediately stop the process of building settlements, because that would kill the possibility of two-state solution. What we would like to see also is a reversal of the admission or acceptance of the annexation of Jerusalem and the Golan Heights, which violates international law. There is an opportunity here that we hope that the new administration will use, but the last thing we want is to go back to an endless, useless negotiations that lead to nothing and that keep procrastinating the possibility for a solution. We want a solution, we want peace, not just a peace process.
Dr. Mustafa Barghouti, thank you very much for your thoughts today on the news that Saeb Erekat has died, and let's speak now to Dr. Hussam Zomlot, who's the ambassador and head of the Palestinian mission to the UK. Ambassador, thank you very much for your time as well. Your thoughts today on the news that Saeb Erekat has died, and how you would sum up his role in Middle East peace negotiations for several decades.
He was the architect of the Middle East peace process and the hope for ending the conflict and realizing the dream of peace, of two states, of allying with international rules. Today is really a sad day. Sad day, of course, for his immediate family, the small family. Sad day for Palestine. Sad day for all our international friends who have hoped for a successful peace agreement. It is indeed a big loss for us, the Palestinians. This is a leader who has spent his entire life, literally his entire life, serving his nation, defending the rights of his people in every fora one can imagine, be it internally. And Fatah, the political party, has lost one of its most popular leaders, be it at the level of the government and the representation, the PLO. He's the Secretary General of our umbrella organization that represents all Palestinians, the sole legitimate representation. And indeed, he's our negotiator, the stubborn negotiator that has his hands always reached to everybody, but his heart is always strong when it comes to the principles and to the very legitimate rights of the Palestinian people. So it's a very, very sad loss at a very particular moment when, in fact, we needed him the most. He was a close friend of mine, and I feel personally a severe sense of loss.
Our Middle East correspondent a few minutes ago was saying that Mr. Erekat was very much emblematic of a generation of leaders who had very strong ambitions for Palestinian statehood, for a two-state solution. And obviously relations with Israel have been at, well, a pretty big low, haven't they, recently? Who takes up that mantle now from Saeb Erekat, do you think? Because presumably he is someone with his wealth of experience who will be very hard to replace.
Yes, indeed. He will be very hard to replace. This is not just about the position or the duties he used to carry. It's about the person and the belief in him, the commitment, the energy. I mean, he had an endless energy. I was the ambassador in Washington when he did the operation, the lung transplant. I witnessed that moment. I went with him to the operation theater. I saw in him that fighter. He never gives up, and it will be really, truly difficult to replace him. But in the end, Palestine is a vivid, living nation, and we will have many generations who would take up that flame and continue our march towards freedom and realize the dreams and the ambitions and the objectives and the goals of Dr. Erekat, the many decades he has put really in that fight. So there will be people who will carry on. However, Saeb Erekat, the person Saeb Erekat, the leader Saeb Erekat, the official Saeb Erekat, the peacemaker Saeb Erekat, the freedom fighter will be missed for many years to come.
Ambassador, thank you very much. Ambassador Hussam Zomlot, head of the Palestinian mission to the UK. Thank you for your time today.